Working Solutions Learning Series presents Interviewing Techniques. By the end of this workshop, you will be able to correctly describe job interview skills, correctly describe techniques to prepare for a job interview, demonstrate the ability to answer common interview questions, identify correct and incorrect questions to ask during an interview, correctly identify what the employer is looking for, demonstrate the proper attitude during an interview, demonstrate proper body language during an interview, correctly identify information and places to research the company prior to your interview, and correctly identify proper follow-up strategies after an interview. So what's the purpose of a job interview? The purpose of an interview is for the employer to determine whether you can demonstrate the skill they are looking for, whether you can solve their problems or meet their challenges, whether you're able to contribute to their team, or whether you are the best fit for the company, organization, or program. It's important to note that an interview is a two-way process, with an opportunity for you and the interviewer to address your mutual interests. The interviewer is determining whether or not you would be a good fit for the organization, and you are determining whether or not the organization would be a good fit for you. Let's take a look at the word interview. What does it mean? Inter means between, together, and mutual. View means to examine, survey, or inspect. So an interview is an opportunity for a mutual examination. There are many different types of interviews. The list of possible interview questions can be quite large and overwhelming. Fortunately, there are really only 4 different types of interviews that we encounter on a daily basis. The 4 types of interviews we are going to learn about here are screening interviews, hiring interviews, behavioral-based interviews, and the multiple mini-interview. Screening and hiring interviews are the 2 most common interviews. It is important to know something about the different types and styles of interviews before you begin to interview for any type of job. One final thought. An interview that includes a meal or takes place in the context of a social setting should still be considered a serious interview. Even if the conversation is casual, conduct yourself in a positive light. You're still being evaluated directly or indirectly. A screening interview is basically a first impression, or initial interview to see if the applicant meets the basic skill sets an employer is looking for. These type of interviews are usually conducted by the Human Resources Department or by a recruitment consultant at job fairs to screen in and screen out candidates to determine what candidates will be forwarded to the next step. There are different types of screening interviews: on-campus interviews for recent college graduates, preliminary interviews, telephone interviews, and group interviews. You'll be in a much better position if you take the initiative and ask questions about the position and compare your background and strengths and how they match the job requirements. Hiring interviews are usually conducted by the immediate supervisor or by a person or a group of people with authority to hire. This is your opportunity to demonstrate good listening skills, to ask intelligent questions, and illustrate through discussion of your accomplishments how you can help them. 2 common types of hiring interviews are panel or board interviews. These are generally conducted by 2 or more people simultaneously. Each person usually takes turns asking questions and has their own separate agenda. You can expect to be interviewed by as many as 5 different people, including our human resources rep. Series interviews consist of individual interviews with 3 or more people in the company. You will meet with interviewers one at a time rather than in a group. None of these interviews have to be conducted in person. Often these interviews can be delivered by video conference or by phone. The multiple mini interview is a type of interview that is used by medical and dental schools. Applicants move between interview stations and are observed by a single rater. Applicants are then selected by employers based on their rating scores. Each station covers a different issue, including communication, collaboration, ethics, health policy, critical thinking, and awareness of health issues. This technique is used by employers that have a high investment in new hires. You will see behavioral-based interview techniques tied into the other 3 types of interviews. This is a technique in which job candidates are asked to give specific examples of how they have performed in the past in certain job-related competency situations. Here is one example of a behavioral-based job interview question. Describe a situation in which you were able to use persuasion to successfully convince someone to see things your way. Preparation is key when it comes to nailing that interview. The more information you have about a prospective employer, the better prepared you are during the interview. Knowing about the organization and employment requirements are vital to your interview preparation and success. Here are some things to remember. Always research the company, their vision, their mission, and their culture. Research your specific position. Research the interviewer if you know who it is in advance. And prepare yourself for the interview with copies of your resume, your references, knowing the location, and lining up your transportation. It is imperative that you research the organization you will be interviewing with. Knowing about the organization can help you to feel and appear more confident in answering questions. You can better gear your answers, strengths, and skills to fit the position. Here are some tips on what to research. The primary purpose or mission of the company goals and priorities, what services or products they sell, latest annual sales or revenue information, major competitors, work environment and structure, what an average employee looks like, and hot issues about the industry. The best places to research this information are the company website, business review magazines, Google, LinkedIn, simply talking to people, the local library or DOL website, social media outputs like Twitter and Facebook, annual reports, press releases, and the bios of employees. Be sure to thoroughly research the position that you're interviewing for. Find out the major responsibilities of the position, the qualifications and skills required, if training or education is required. Find out the typical earnings of this position, the opportunities for advancement, if there's a career ladder or path, and the employment outlook. See if you can get details on the position such as travel requirements, hours, and the pay situation beforehand. Where can you find this information? You can obtain a job description from the company. You can attend a company information session if one is being offered. You can access company profiles on their website. Or you can network with people that work, hire, or teach in the career field in which you are interested. The first step in preparing for an interview is to know your strengths and skills and to identify how they will best fit the organization. Strengths are personal traits and can be described as your unique qualities. For example, a strength can be that you're dependable, flexible, and punctual. These are different from skills, which are knowledge-based and are typically acquired from education and experience. Examples of these are language skills and analytical skills. Identify and clarify your short-term and long-term goals, and think about your values and interests. When you're discussing these strengths and skills, always provide an example of how you demonstrated them and how it can contribute to the organization. Once you have determined the skills you possess that best match the company profile and position description, you will need to organize your thoughts so that your answers flow naturally. There are a number of questions you may be asked during an interview. Experienced interviewers ask clever and often ask difficult questions. They usually do not have very much time and are skilled at getting to the point. Preparing in advance allows you to illustrate good communication skills and express yourself in a well-organized, professional manner. Practice. You cannot think of all the questions that may be asked of you, but you can prepare by practicing how to answer potentially difficult questions. Write down and memorize your accomplishments ahead of time. For each accomplishment, follow the answer with a specific example. Work this out by repeating it. Using behavioral-based interviewing techniques, remember, using past experiences to answer a question. Describe your skills and accomplishments. For a behavioral-based interview, there is a method that can help you provide specific and detailed answers called the STAR method. STAR stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result. In this method, you provide an example of a situation where you performed a task that resulted in a positive outcome. You talk about the action you took or the behavior you exhibited, and then you discuss the results that followed based on your actions. Before starting the interview, the more prepared you are, the better you can deal with nerves and anxiety. Some anxiety is healthy and normal, but some of these tips will help alleviate some of your pre-interview jitters. Chart your path the day before so that you are familiar with traffic, parking, transit schedules, etc. This will help ward off any undue stress caused by getting lost or arriving late. Reinforce that you have control and that the interview is a mutual beneficial experience. You are interviewing as much as being interviewed. Feel good that you've been selected for the interview. Give yourself credit. No matter what the outcome, this is great practice. If you work out, stick to your routine and exercise the day before or that morning. This is a great opportunity for you to showcase your talents. Get ready the night before, prepare your clothes for the interview, and prepare and practice your interview responses. Most importantly, get a good night's sleep the night before. Now that you have arrived on location, make sure you greet the security guards, receptionists, and anyone you come into contact with professionally and with courtesy. You do not know the relationships within the organization, and word may travel fast if you are rude or unprofessional. Be prepared to shake hands with the interviewer, but recognize that there might be situations where this isn't possible. Don't forget to pay attention to your body language and be a good listener. Observe the interviewer and follow their cues. During the interview, there are some common questions that are asked. Interviewers use the interview process as a way to find the best candidate for the job. Every question they ask is used to differentiate your skills, experience, and personality with that of other candidates. They want to determine if what you have to offer will work with the organization's mission and goals. Let's go over some of the common questions that may be asked during an interview. Tell me something about yourself. This is the most common question. It is asked mostly for the employer to find out if you have good communication skills. A good way to answer this question is by keeping it professional. The interviewer is not interested in your family or personal life. Keep your answer short and to the point, and emphasize your best work qualities. Tell the truth about your experience and abilities. Tell the interviewer what your goals are for the future. If your goals involve growing with the company, mention that. Talk about your strengths and mention your weaknesses. Employers want to know that you are aware of your weaknesses. Why are you interested in working with this company? If you prepared for the interview and did some research on the company, you should be able to answer this question based on your researched information. I'm interested in joining your company because it offers me an opportunity for advancing my career, with much room for moving up. I've also had very good experiences dealing with Company X in the past, and I would like to be a part of what I see as an excellent team and great work environment. I'd like to join your company because it seems like you have a good working environment that suits my personality. Joining the company will help me to advance my work experience. Tell me about your education qualifications. Always answer personal questions truthfully, because lying can become issues later on. If you did not really enjoy your school days, for example, say so, with clear reasons. Then show how you slowly changed your opinion to such a degree that you made subsequent education work for you. That would make you appear much more resilient, mature, and attractive than pretending you enjoyed it from day one. Show the relevance of your degree or college qualifications to the job you are seeking and how you would use it to good advantage. Your answer might even give an innovative idea the interviewers might not have thought of. Make sure you go on occasional training so that you can at least show you are keeping up with the new developments and ahead of the trends. This question is usually asked to see if you are interested in your education career goals. Are you equipped for the job you are interviewing for? There are many other common questions, and there are many different scripts that you can look up on the internet to better prepare yourself for your interview. Actions speak louder than words. This is particularly true in an interview situation, where your body language plays a significant factor in determining whether an employer sees you as a trustworthy, confident, capable individual who has a future with their company. Interestingly, research has shown that words by themselves account for only 7% of the impact of your message. 38% of the message is transmitted by tone of voice, and the remaining 55% is communicated by body language. The more interested you are in what you are saying, the more interested the interviewer will be in listening to you. If you smile during the interview, you'll present yourself as a positive, can-do individual who is likable and would fit in with the existing team. It is important to keep a strong eye contact during the course of the interview. It will make you look self-assured and confident and helps build a connection with the interviewer. It shows that you are listening intently and implies that you are a trustworthy individual with nothing to hide. Also, own the room. Walk in with confidence and don't be afraid to fill your space. Employers need to know that you are a confident individual who can quickly master the role. Use a firm handshake and a smile. When seated, use good posture and speak with enthusiasm. Here are some of the most common interviewing mistakes. Number 1, not being prepared. You should have done research on the company and came prepared to have an exchange of ideas with the interviewer. You should have prepared how you were going to answer questions as well as questions ready to ask throughout the interview to show initiative. Number 2, when asked what your weakness is, avoid answers like "I'm a perfectionist." You need to highlight a skill that you want to improve and state what action you are taking or took to correct it. Most often, employers don't focus on the weakness, but how you handle the question. Number 3, dress for success. You will not be taken seriously if you are interviewing for a company in jeans or flip-flops. Number 4, leaving your cell phone on. Turn off your cell phone during the interview and do not keep it in plain sight. Number 5, arriving late to the interview. A huge mistake. Arrive 15 minutes early to make a good impression. Remember, take traffic and bad weather into consideration. At the end of the interview, be sure to express your enthusiasm and desire for the job by saying it. Ask what the next steps will be in the process. Ask for the business cards of the interviewers. This will help with follow-up after the interview. Summarize and market your skills and strengths. Thank the interviewers for their time. Smile and shake hands and offer to provide any additional information they may need. After the interview is complete, within 24 to 48 hours, don't delay, send a thank you letter or email. A well-thought-out follow-up can shoot you to the top of the candidate list. This is very important because a thank you note gives you one more chance to remind the employer about the special skills that you can bring to the company. The thank you note should be short and to the point. Here are a few tips for writing the thank you note. Neatly type the note. Address the note to the interviewer or the lead interviewer. Make sure to spell their names correctly. Keep it short, no longer than 1 page. The first paragraph should thank the employer for the interview. Also mention that you are interested in the position. The second paragraph should briefly state a few of your skills without repeating information on your resume word for word. Include any important information not mentioned in the interview. Be sure to use some of the same words your interviewer used. This shows that you were listening. Feel free to address a possible challenge they may have told you about during the interview. This is a chance for you to show them that you can fill their needs one more time. The third paragraph should provide your contact information, telephone number with area code, and an email address if available. Sign the note with your first and last name, then proofread the note to check for spelling or grammar errors. Ask another person to proofread the note for you. Then mail or email the note within 2 days after your interview. Don't be afraid to follow up. If the interviewer said you would hear something in a week and you don't, there is nothing wrong with initiating the contact yourself. Just remember to be polite when you call. After the interview, go home and write down everything you can about the interview. Make sure to write down what went well and what didn't. If you don't get the job, this information could prove very helpful later on. If possible, see if you can get feedback from the interviewer. Contact the interviewer if you didn't get the job and ask them if there was something you could do to improve your interviewing skills. If the interviewer has nothing to offer, they just went with a different candidate. Ask the interviewer if they would consider you for any additional openings in the future, if they are aware of any similar positions that you might be a good candidate for, or if they would be willing to forward your information to anyone they know who might be looking for a candidate with your skills.